When solo traveling, you'll sometimes feel lonely. You might get bored to death. But sometimes, everything just feels right and you'll love it. Today was one of those days, and by far my favorite day of this trip so far, and I want to spend that day with you. Hi, I'm Vigo, an 18-year-old adventurer. 5 days ago, I landed in Barcelona, Spain. The only thing I planned was a return ticket from Naples, Italy 2 weeks later, and an interrail ticket allowing me free train travel in the region. Over the past few days, I've already experienced so much, traveling from Barcelona to Avignon. I dipped my toes in the freezing cold ocean in Porto, explored a French medieval citadel in Carcassonne, and dealt with a lot of burnout from traveling. Yesterday, I explored the French city of Avignon, where I actually left you off on quite a cliffhanger in last week's episode. I missed my train from Avignon because the machine to return my rental bike wasn't working. Now I had to bike all the way out to the hospital of Avignon to see if the bike rental machine there would work. Out of 3 of these machines I've tried today, only one of them actually worked. If this one doesn't work, I'll have to bike all the way back into the city center to find another machine, and then probably walk all the way back out to the train station, all within the next hour to catch the last train departure of the day. Whether this machine works or not will most likely determine if I'll be stranded in Avignon tonight or make it to Nice. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna be so mad. Return. Oh my god, I think it finally works. Let's see. Yeah. Finally. Now I just have like an hour to walk back to the station if I'm gonna walk. I don't know if there's an alternative. We'll just figure out. I am not even sure if I was allowed to be in there. Bonjour. Alright, I took a bus. My train leaves in like 35 minutes, I think. But I didn't want to risk it by walking here, and I sure didn't want to walk through those neighborhoods in the dark. I just went by a fire in the middle of the road. So I'm at the station now. Just gotta get a seat reservation for the train. I got myself some very overpriced dinner. After finally having made it onto the train towards Nice, I was so tired and slept for a bit on the train. The trains in France are always a bit out of the ordinary. I thought it looked a bit funny and old school with this chair in the conductor's compartment. I made it out of the train and onto the platform. I went through the fare gates and then stepped out of the station and onto the streets of Nice at almost 11 o'clock. Luckily, I had picked a hostel almost just next to the train station. Well, that didn't take long to find. After a lengthy check-in process, I made my way up to my room, and this was good night for today. Luckily for you, it's the next day now. This is the view from my room, and this is the room itself. I made my way down the stairs because included in my stay was a free breakfast buffet. While eating, I realized it was gonna be a stretch already having to leave for another city this night, and also it wouldn't make much sense in terms of where I plan to travel to next. Alright, so I extended my stay for one night, but then I'm gonna be in another room, so I still have to check out now and then check in later today. But for now, I'm just gonna explore the city. And that I did. I could already feel that this was gonna be a great day. The sun was shining and spring was in full bloom. I could hear the small birds chirping away in the bushes as I made my way to my first visit in the city. So this is the most important Orthodox church outside of Russia for some reason. And it's right here in Nice. It's quite an impressive building. It's such a contrast with this church and then these palm trees and the Mediterranean vegetation. There was a sign that said that there would be a rabbit family that lived in this little garden, and I think I spotted one of them. It was so nice to be in the garden for a bit, especially because the weather was so nice again once I returned to the coast.
It's such a peaceful little garden.
I left the church and garden and headed towards the city center. They were preparing for a carnival, which was going to be held in just a few days from now. I made it down to the beach. It's one of the most iconic places in Nice. It was buzzing with life, and again the weather was just perfect. Light blue skies with the odd cotton candy looking cloud, the sunshine warming up my body, and the waves crashing onto the rocks and onto the beach. Look at this, it all looks like it came straight out of a movie. There was even a guy playing music. As I was enjoying this idyllic moment and soaking up the views, the tone quickly shifted for worse. The light and happy music performance was replaced by an eerie, deafening air raid siren. With everything currently going on in the world, I had no idea what to think of this.
What the hell was that?
But seeing how everyone around reacted and didn't seem to worry too much made me take it more lightly.
I'm a Google that. So apparently on the first Wednesday in every month in France, all the sirens in France go off like as a test. And it's the first Wednesday of February today. I was just not aware of that.
I made it into the small streets and picturesque alleyways, which I was almost sharing with only the locals. I made it to the Cathedral of Nice.
So this is the Nice Cathedral. So I was just walking by this church and the doors were just open, so just walked in. Wow, what a view. So I'm currently just following a route that I found on Google, and I'm trying not to film too much because I'm just trying to enjoy it. The weather is so nice and it's quite relaxing. So
I know I've mentioned the weather a lot by now, but for context, at home it was below freezing temperatures at this moment.
But wow, these mountains, they are quite incredible. First of all, this one, and then the two in the distance. And here we have a miniature version of the Apollo. It's a Tintin and Hachette museum, I think. Such a nice beach, and these mountains are wild.
These waves and the baking sun made me tempted to go for a swim, but I didn't find a suitable place and instead continued along the coast for a little hike. On my way, I passed these workers who were laying new rockfall protection wire nets. I thought their technique looked a bit ridiculous. The biker really didn't seem to care though.
That's a bus to Monaco. Even though I know it's just blinking for you because of the frame rate. So I think I'll be able to take this trail instead of walking along this busy road. I hope this trail is fine.
The trail might have been a bit adventurous, but at the least it was offering stunning views and landscape.
Wow, this is so nice. These cliffs are incredible. I feel like I'm really experiencing the Mediterranean vibes today.
If you couldn't tell, I was really enjoying this hike. The path led me to this ruined hut, which was just looking like something straight out of Greece or Cyprus.
I feel like it's a little crazy that I'm still in France. I feel like I'm in Greece or something, but that's coming from someone who's never been to Greece. I have been to the Greek side of Cyprus though, but Greece is up there on the list of countries I'm gonna visit in the future.
I made it around the mountain in headline and was heading into the bay next to the one Nice is situated inside.
I made it to a little town and I could really use some cake right now and a big cup of coffee and some freshly pressed juice or something like that.
Since Nice is so close to the Italian border, there was an Italian coffee shop where I had a slice of pizza instead, but of course I still had to get some of these delicious French pastries. Still tempted to go for a swim, I went down to the beach.
So I was really considering going swimming today, but it's almost 5 PM now and I think it's just gotten a bit too cold the last hour or so, and the sun is about to go down behind that mountain, so maybe not. This would have been the perfect spot for it though.
Instead, once again, I just had to dip my toes in the ocean though. I felt so happy and grateful for the hike I just had, and in general just for how much I'd already experienced on the trip so far. Sure, I'd had my ups and downs, and I always do on these trips, but more than often that is truly what makes these trips so memorable, and looking back it's all just part of the story. And honestly, one of the reasons why I'd so much recommend going traveling is that I just learned so much about myself when I do, especially from going through the ups and downs. The air had gotten colder, the sun was no longer shining, and the wind was picking up, but I decided to screw all that and went for it anyway.
And that is how to feel alive. Damn, that was cold. I might do it again.
I went for a second time, but as I was gathering up the courage to jump in, the tides were slowly rising, and then this happened.
Well, I was trying to get the courage to do it, but then my water fell in the water.
I was so cold from the swim and surprised by my phone nearly heading out to sea that I guess I called my phone for water.
I guess I'll go back now then. I am absolutely freezing right now.
Both my body temperature and the temperature of the air around me had dropped significantly after the bay was covered in shade from the mountain blocking off the sun.
There's something about that sunset, isn't there?
I got in my shoes and got my interrail pass out as I walked up to the station. Unfortunately, the train was fully packed, but I actually managed to squeeze in. Apparently I only got this 1/5 of a second long clip, doing a poor job at trying to show how crowded it was inside. Luckily, the trip only lasted about 8 minutes. I picked up my new room key.
Alright, so I got another room this time on 3rd floor. I just got a very warm shower. That was perfect.
Extremely exhausted from the long day, I just went down to the hostel bar and ordered a frozen pizza and got some editing done for the rest of the evening. In my new room, I was placed in the middle bunk in a triple bunk bed. Because there had to be a bed both beneath and above me, the headroom was almost non-existent, and the whole bed was making a terrible noise every time I moved slightly. I tried getting my clothes off in the small space I had to work with, and the noise was just terrible. And I felt really sorry for all the people in the room already sleeping, since this was almost at midnight, but finally I headed to bed. Thank you so much for spending this perfect day with me. The fact that you're watching this means you're one of the 8 to 29% of people who watches my videos to the end. I'm guessing that probably means you might have enjoyed it? If so, you can consider subscribing. It's free and you'll support the channel way more than you think. I've also had a few people wanting to follow me on Instagram lately, so I've set up a completely new public account. You can go and be my first follower right now if you want to. If the next episode is already up by the time you're watching this, then it'll be on the screen now, but otherwise it'll be up next Thursday. You can check out another in the meantime. See you there.